let's talk about the Space Rider Moondust palette from Urban Decay. This palette features 4 neutral sparkly eyeshadows in their Moondust formula, which they have as singles. They did also launch another version of this palette called Galactic Cowgirl, which I do have a dedicated video up on. So I'm going to be doing eye swatches of each of the shades, and then I'm going to be turning the last 2 eye swatches into a look. So let's get right into it. First up, I'm swatching Wild Dipper Rides Again, and I'm just kind of tapping it on. Here's what that looks like. Super sparkly. See how the sparkles are kind of separate. Next up is Space Cowboy, and this one has very much a yellow base to it. I feel like this one is less opaque, a little bit more translucent. And again, you can see lots and lots of sparkles, super shiny. I feel like the sparkles are a little less separate looking than the previous shade. Then we have Cosmic Space Dust. Really love this one a lot. And again, I think you can see the silvery, almost kind of pieces on top of the eyeshadow. And then the last shade is Star Cowgirl. I went in with 2 layers with this one. Honestly, pretty disappointed in how that swatched initially. Definitely going to need some sort of a tacky primer or something because it's literally just almost like glitter particles all over. Personally, I was expecting just a little bit more. So for the look, essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding Cosmic Space Dust on the side that I used Star Cowgirl, and on the side where I used Star Cowgirl, I'm going to go in with Cosmic Space Dust to kind of mix them in together and create a cohesive look. And then I'm going to be creating an eyeshadow wing with the Visera Dark Mattes. I'm using that brown, and you can see like there's flecks of particles flying all over my face, but it is such an ethereal look, very sparkly and very beautiful. So I put on the eyeshadow this morning around like 6:30, 7 a.m. It is now almost 7 p.m. so it's been 12 hours. I did not use a tacky primer, and I have to say I am definitely using a tacky primer with these eyeshadows. I would highly recommend using a tacky primer. It depends on your eyelids. If you have hooded lids, if you have oily lids, definitely recommend, because there is almost no sparkly shadow left on my lids, and I have a ton of fallout. It's basically like all over here underneath my eyes and on my cheek. It's a very dry formula, kind of like sparkles almost suspended on top. So when you pat it on, you can really see the sparkles kind of a little bit apart from the actual eyeshadow. I also had a lot of fallout with application, so I would recommend, again, using a tacky primer or misting your brush with just some water to hopefully help with that. But overall, I recommend doing your eyes before your base to avoid having sparkles all over your base. They're kind of hard to get off. With the brush this morning, I was able to kind of flick some off, but there were some that kind of just sat on top of my base and I just couldn't get them off. So that's something to keep in mind. Overall, this palette is $39. You get 4 sparkly topper-like shades. I think it's a nice array of some different neutral tones, and it's a good everyday companion palette to have. The only shade in here that I wasn't a huge fan of is the shade Star Cowgirl, which is the first one. I just felt like when I put this on, it was extremely dry and almost like piecey. And this is definitely one of the shades where the sparkles are just kind of sitting on top. So these are very prone to just flying off your lid. Also, the Space Cowboy shade in this palette is definitely shinier than the single eyeshadow counterpart that they have, which is $24. I am wondering if they will launch some more of these with some of their other Moondust shades. I think it's nice to have them in this little concise bundle. And the packaging, I mean, it's plastic, it's sparkly on the outside, it's pretty nice. So those are my thoughts on the palette. I think I personally prefer the other one just a little bit more based on my preferences and what I like in an eyeshadow. And those are my thoughts on the palette. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking it up. Is this something you want to add to your collection? I would love to hear your thoughts. And that's everything for this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.